Hi, everyone. Tom Slivick with Dan Riordon. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm great, Tom. Thanks.
Good. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
You're a nice guy to talk to.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, I find you very candid and everything, so that's very nice. And, of course, you're the director with Hospice.
Yeah.
Okay, of Amador and Calaveras.
That's right.
And when did Amador join up with Calaveras?
Actually, way back 30 years ago, Tom, when it started, like around 1982. Even then, we were open to providing care for patients who lived in Calaveras.
Okay.
We formalized it about 5 years ago by adding the name Calaveras into Hospice of Amador and Calaveras.
Okay.
Just so our friends in Calaveras knew, hey, we're here for you as well. Yeah.
Okay, so that's very good and very considerate. And of course, that's probably what Hospice is all about. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Hospice? Right before it came on, I said, when did Hospice, the idea of Hospice, first take place?
Yeah, so, Tom, it originated in Great Britain in the mid-'70s.
Okay.
And the model caught on in the States really quickly. So in the early '80s, even here in Amador County, by 1982, volunteers were getting together who were touched by the idea that it was really an important opportunity for people to be able to stay at home during their end of life if that's what they chose to do. And so as early as 1980 in the United States, hospices began forming. And in Amador County in 1982, a handful of volunteers, a couple of nurses, nobody was paid, and they took on their first patient, I think, in November 1982.
Okay, so having a choice, you said, if you choose to, what's the alternative to hospice care?
Right. Well, that's a great question. And it all depends kind of on what's going on in your life, or in your death process, more accurately.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. So you're probably aware of some folks who end up, going in and out of the hospital a lot.
Okay.
Trying this, trying that. Some things may be successful, some things may not be successful. So that's a choice, to continue to really strive to cure or beat whatever it is that you're struggling against, disease-wise. Alternatively, there may come a time where it becomes pretty clear that there is no more beating, that my end of life is here. Okay. And so at that time, I can make the choice to remain at home, to be comfortable, to have the hospice team come out, help me and my family meet my own goals about end of life versus going in and out of hospitals and that type of thing. So it's a very personal decision about when is it right for that, who's it right for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do people ever, say, stay at home, yet at the same time still go to into the hospital or see doctors and have care? Yeah,
it happens. And, it's it all depends on, again, what's going on with the patient. So the important thing, I think, is to kind of recognize the difference between curative care and palliative care.
Right.
And hospice brings palliative care. Palliative care is all about keeping the patient and family as comfortable and engaged with their final living process as they can be.
Right. Well, I've had personal experience with hospice, and I imagine nearly everyone has.
Seems that way.
Yeah, and we all wear out. So we're all going to have an end of time.
That's right.
Okay, hospice, I think, is one of the most humane, things that that I can think of. Okay, so you're having, and we'll be talking more about hospice and what it does and everything, but I'd just like to tell everyone, you're having a celebration.
We are.
For the people, the volunteers, and like that. Why don't you tell us about that?
Oh, thank you, yes. This Saturday, in fact, at Diedert Park. I drove by this morning and I thought, oh my God, I mean, the work they're doing over there, but they're going to clear out and make space for us. Right. So, we're inviting the community out to a free kind of barbecue picnic celebration to honor the over 200 volunteers that participate with hospice on a lot of different levels. And that's this Saturday from 11 to 2, I think is what it is. And so, everyone out there, all your viewers, I want to welcome you and encourage you to come on out for whatever time you can. Everybody's very busy, I know that. A lot of things going on, but people come out, hang out for a while, move on to the next thing. It gives us a chance to honor these volunteers in a public setting, and I love that. I love that idea.
Without the volunteers, hospice wouldn't be possible.
That's exactly
right.
Yeah, that's right. The volunteers do so much. They meet with patients and families. They support the thrift stores.
Right.
They support us in the office. They support our Grief Busters program for children. It's really so much about the volunteers and what they're doing.
Right. Yeah. So much of what they do, too, I remember from the experience was, give kind of some respite, too, for the caregivers or the family members that are, involved at that.
Exactly
and
right.
That's a sad time.
Yeah.
For,
And it can be a really heavy time, yeah,
right.
Exhausting emotionally and physically. So you're right. I mean, that's how I got started in hospice about 7 years ago as a family support volunteer. Go out there and let that primary caregiver go away for 4 hours a week. Go do something else. Go to the park.
Right.
Try to catch your breath.
Get a little
respite.
Get a little respite yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple of minutes before the break, so let's talk a little bit about the holistic care side.
Oh,
of
great.
hospice.
Yeah, thank you. So holistic is a notion that kind of honors the fact that at the end of life, it's not just good enough or enough in general to handle physical pain. It's not just good enough to handle social issues. It's not just good enough to be focused on spiritual issues. All of these emotions and considerations come into play during the end of life.
They're all going on at the same time.
That's right.
I believe the Germans have a word for that. It's Gestalt.
Exactly.
It's the whole.
Exactly.
The
Gestalt of dying. Yeah.
Right.
So our teams are comprised of folks who have expertise in all of those areas. They come together. They work really closely together, and with the families to try to support whatever it is that's important to that family with whatever one of those disciplines. What's important? What do you need today?
Right.
What's going to make this the best day that we can bring to you?
It's different for everyone.
Absolutely.
And it's a special program for that special person, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's different for everyone. Yeah. My biggest concern might be removing my physical pain today.
Right.
It may be trying to connect with a son or daughter that I've lost touch with.
Right.
Whatever that is.
Some days that is that, towards the end. A good day, bad day.
Absolutely.
Ups and downs, and all that's going on.
Yeah.
We're going to be back with Dan Riordon from Hospice, Amador and Calaveras, right after this break. Stay with us.
Thanks, Tom.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm with Dan Riordon. Dan's with Hospice of Amador and Calaveras, and we were talking. And there's a lot of things that happens with Hospice. Hospice is involved in a lot of different ways. Dan, tell us, how do you first get Hospice? How do you get your patients? How does that work?
Right, Tom. It's like what's the referral process? How do patients get connected to Hospice? And so it happens in any number of ways. We can get a call from a patient. We can get a call from a patient's loved one. We can get a call from a physician, from a hospital, from a residential care facility, from a friend of someone. So the referrals come from a lot of different places. And at that point, what we do is we go meet with the patient, as long as the patient wants us to come out.
So a lot of that sounds like professionals.
Yes, some are.
Professional side that's already looking out for people, and doctor obviously probably you're in his care, and decisions made. Yeah, contact you guys. Is that how that?
Yes, oftentimes it happens that way. The primary care physician may say, we are reaching a point here in life where it looks like it may be a good time to talk to the local hospice and find out what they might be able to bring for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how it starts. Now, those people, those other professional groups you had mentioned in there, like Oak Manor, Gold Quartz Inn, you didn't mention them, but we have them written down here. Yes. Jackson Gardens, Amador Residential. I could go on. I can't name everyone, but how do they get a hold of you? Call them? Are they your partners, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question, Tom. So if you think about the notion of hospice providing care in a patient's home, and then you think about, where is the patient's home?
There you go.
Right?
Right.
It may not be a private setting. It may be a residential care facility. Right. It may be anywhere. So it's important that we establish relationships with all of those settings so that we have a way to come in and serve those folks.
Okay.
Recently, or I should back up, for years we had a relationship with the skilled nursing facility, Kit Carson, locally, and we brought hospice care there. Well, that changed during the last year, and a decision was made by them to not be in relationship with us anymore. And so that's a concern for me, honestly, and a concern for some of the folks in the community who have loved ones there and are interested in hospice care at the end, but at this point are unable to access it. So that's one of the reasons why the whole notion of the hospice house is coming back into our consciousness as
what does that mean?
Yeah. It's an opportunity for, let's pretend for a minute, that the community was able to stand behind hospice and with hospice to locate a facility that we could own and operate ourselves, that maybe had 6 beds in a very home-like environment.
So for people that are having not their own home, but are in other care facilities, could be moved to that.
That's exactly right.
Is that it?
Or if they are in their own home and it's becoming unsafe or untenable for any reason. Yeah, so that
maybe they're in their own home and maybe they're the only person in their own home.
That's right. And the caregiver needs to leave and there's no one there. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could bring them into a facility and provide 24-hour care? And so we're working very hard to kind of envision that.
Okay, it's the first time I've heard of this.
Okay,
So we'll have you back and we'll go into more of this because it sounds like a great idea.
Beautiful. Look forward
Some other things hospice does. Grief Busters.
Yeah,
Tell us
Tom.
about Grief Busters.
This is that program that's comprised of, once again, volunteers, adults like you and me, who say, you know, I could afford to spend a few hours a week with a child who may have suffered the loss of a loved one and feels like they need another adult, a special adult in their life. So we work relationships with all the school districts in Amador and Calaveras County. And so, for instance, I think school started up about a month ago in both counties. And already today, we're meeting with over 30 children each and every week, children who have suffered a loss of a loved one, and appreciate the idea that here comes this person into my life once a week in a safe setting, the school oftentimes, to just kind of hang out with me and be with me.
Do those people have training?
Yeah, we provide training to all of our volunteers. The Grief Buster training, I believe, is a 24-hour training session with trained psychologists, and we have backup for all of that. Because we're not counselors. We're not there to fix anything.
Right, I think you can't fix it.
No, we're there to witness it, and to let them know, hey, we love you, we're with you, what you're going through is A-okay, and you're going to be okay. You know, that kind of thing. I love this program. It's another one of these programs that it's really outside of core
does
services.
It seem to you, let me ask you, I'm kind of curious, does it seem like most children need this?
I don't know about most, because I don't keep the numbers that way.
All right.
Not all, but some.
Okay.
And what happens, what you might see as a parent or a teacher, you might see children starting to act out in ways that they've never done before. They may start interrupting others. They may be late for school. In the teenage years, they may start to explore, drugs, sexual promiscuity, things like that.
Maybe the event caused them to lose a lot of their anchor.
Exactly. Great way of saying it. And so we look out for that type of thing. And those are the children that, are they at risk? Maybe. But someone says, hey, Grief Busters, are you willing to come and meet this child? And so we pair them up.
Basically, maybe a lot of that acting out is a reach out.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, well said.
Okay. Well said. So, you've got that going on with you.
Yep.
You got your work,
yeah.
Your funding. How do you get most of your funding, Dan?
Good question, Tom. Most of it is from Medicare.
All right.
Or other insurances. We have contracts with Kaiser, all the Blue Shields, the Blue Crosses, other hospitals around. But most of it comes from Medicare. So with all of that funding, what happens is we end up with not enough to cover what it takes to bring all these services to the community. And that's why you see hospice out in the community with fundraisers, with the art auction each year, sending letters to home, asking, hey, can you help us?
Right.
Because as a nonprofit, what our mission is when we get these referrals we spoke of a minute ago, that we're always in a position to say yes, regardless of that person's ability to pay for it. I don't want to be able to, do they have insurance? Don't they have insurance? How much have they got? We want to say yes, and we do, 100%.
Okay, so you basically say yes jump in and then find out where
we'll figure it out.
You know how it's going to be afforded.
That's
afterwards.
Right. That's
and
right.
a lot of people, I believe, you know, myself, when you think of hospice, I think of the thrift stores.
Well, those are the great models that help produce the revenue that keeps this mission alive.
Okay.
And the thrift stores, they do so much more than that. They're fabulous. They give a lot back to the community. It's a great way for people to shop and save money and all that kind of stuff. And it really, it supports our mission. Without them, we'd be losing over $250,000 every year, Tom.
Dan, looks like we have 30 seconds or so. Let's remind people of the celebration at Dieter Park.
Yes, this Saturday.
Okay. And quick, you have a golf tournament coming up.
Oh, golf tournament coming up October 6th.
Okay, we'll get you back on or talk to you about that when it gets a little bit closer.
Fine.
All right. And
Appreciate
September, October, it's right around the corner, actually.
Yeah, it is. October 6th coming up.
October 6th, so get a hold of
call us, learn about it.
Dan and people at Hospice to find out about how you can give there and show up for the, if you can, for the free event. Okay? And thanks for watching us here on TSPN today. Thanks a lot, Dan, for stopping by.
Thanks.
More news on the other side of the break. You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.